So that's it for this course section. We learned a lot about React Native. We built the first basic application here where we can add our course goals. And whilst building this application, we learned a lot about building user interfaces with React Native in general. You learned that you must use these built-in core components, for example. You are not allowed to use HTML elements like divs or anything like that. Instead, you build the entire user interface and all your custom components from those built-in components. But then you can combine them as you need to build your own elements and features. You also learned how styling works, that you create such style sheet objects which hold nested objects which you can then assign to different elements in your JSX code. In those nested objects, we have CSS-like properties which allow us to set margins, paddings, colors, and all these things. Now, even though it looks a bit like CSS, or the names are similar, it isn't CSS. We have no inheritance, and in general, it's just not CSS. It's JavaScript, and under the hood, React Native translates our style settings to the native style instructions for the different platforms. We, for example, saw that we had problems assigning rounded corners to these elements on iOS, whereas it worked without issues on Android, and therefore it's really important to keep in mind that we have two different platforms, and React Native just does its best to talk to both platforms and transform our instructions for them. Now, what we also, of course, learned is that besides the components and the styling, we write regular React applications. We can still use state, we can react to events. Those events are just not called onClick, but instead onPress. But then we can react to them, we can change state, we can output state, and we can do all these things. And this part works exactly as you're used to. There's nothing special about this. React Native plus React is exactly as React Web plus React when it comes to managing state and so on. Now, we saw differences when it came to outputting lists, though. We did this with a scroll view, but then we switched to flat list for better performance, which is another built-in core component. And you will see cases like this from time to time throughout the course, where we have a special solution for the native platforms for better performance or a native look and feel. But that's it for the basics for now. In the end, it's not too complex. It's a React app just with a different target platform. But of course, it is something you must get used to. Working with those built-in components, setting up styling like this, it takes practice to get used to that. And thankfully, we'll have plenty of practice throughout this course because this was just the first real section and just the first app. We're going to build way more and we're going to learn way more throughout the rest of this course.